Come on in, sit right down. Keep your hands up and keep your chin down. Shut the door. Time to go with Randy Harris and Knockout Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, Knockout Radio with Randy Harris is about to start. So get ready for the best MMA talk, games, interviews, prizes, and surprises anywhere. For Knockout Radio, I'm the voice, Ray Flores, and you can follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/Ray Flores MMA, or facebook.com/Ray Flores MMA. And now, here's Knockout Radio.
Hey-o. Hey, everybody.
What is going on, everybody? It is another Wednesday, Knockout Radio on the air. What's up, guys?
What up?
How you doing?
What's happening?
Another day in paradise.
It is in paradise.
Sounds so excited there,
I know.
Rex.
Yeah.
Sorry, are we bugging you?
Yes.
You got other things going on?
Yes.
You got modeling shoots?
Yes.
What's going on?
All of the above?
Yeah? Do you want to go get to them?
No, I'm good.
I don't want to hold you here.
We done?
Yeah.
Sure.
We're waiting for you to take over.
No,
It's
this
your
is
show.
your show, yeah. I was fine with
You
that.
run this thing.
I was waiting to talk about some produce and stuff.
We're
so
just the
it's-
peanut gallery.
it's-
Produce.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all right.
What produce?
Totally stacked show tonight, guys. We've got some cool stuff to give away tonight as well, guys.
Yep.
In about 10, 12 minutes or so. And we briefly started to get the tweets last week, and I wasn't able to get a hold of Alden quick enough. But the former CEO of MMA Elite, Alden Halpern, is going to come on and talk a little bit about what went down.
Yeah, weird. Weird situation.
Well, and what's even weirder about it, Derek, is the fact that I know how much he loves the sport. I know how much he loves these guys.
Yeah, I don't know him. I know him from Twitter.
Me too.
You know, just from people following him and MMA Elite, obviously. And, you know, you see he does all these giveaways and you hear, you know, a ton of people saying good things about him. And then when he said that he was stepping down or whatever the case was, you see the backlash. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? So I'm glad we have him on.
Well, and I pretty much, because we had him on, Wegs and I had him on Friday.
Yeah.
But I wanted to, get him on the national format. Not that he needs it, because, he's talked to a couple other shows as well. I understand. I know exactly where he's coming from. And I know things that have been said, and it's human nature, kind of like what we were just discussing off the air. The fact that, and Alden will talk a little bit about it, you can help somebody for 10 straight years, for 200 years. But the minute you stop,
you're an asshole.
Now you're a dick.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what happened here. And Alden just finally said, and he'll talk about it, you know what, I've had enough. And he reached out. He helped all these guys. And I've always thought, and I'm going to really open myself up here, but how do these guys even pull off having monthly stipends?
Yeah.
They don't fight. It originally started that they were getting X amount of dollars to wear a patch, to do their things for the fight. Mm-hmm. Now it's developed into you're getting paid every month whether you fight or not.
Right. To just tweet out like, hey, this brand's great. To just put on your Facebook, hey, check out.
Exactly.
Yeah. They've definitely extended the shelf life of the advertising.
And great for the guys.
Sure.
Great for the fighters, and if they're doing the job that they need to do and they're pushing the company, great. Well, Alden decided, I'm going to cut back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to cut some guys out. Whatever. It's his decision. He's the owner of the company. And then all of a sudden, oh, you're a douchebag. Oh, I didn't like. He told me, and he didn't tell me names because you know me. I don't care about names.
Right.
I don't like throwing guys under the buses. Other shows do. Other people do. I don't.
I'd like to.
No, I know that, and I wasn't saying it.
Right.
I wasn't calling you out, but you like that stuff, and I necessarily don't.
Yeah, the facts. Crazy, huh?
Well, it's not necessarily the facts. It's just.
It's the facts. If someone's being a dick,
yeah.
What's wrong with saying they're being a dick? Why do you have to cover for them? You know what I'm saying?
No, you're right.
If someone's not handling, to me, that's the funniest thing is when there's these controversies about, he said, like, so what? He said his opinion, and he said it.
Right.
So, let's work from there. But go on. So he was talking about it.
Well, and he pulled some guys back, or he pulled the money down, or he did whatever, and he didn't tell me who the athlete was, but then the athlete said, well, your product sucks anyway.
Right.
Did it suck while he was paying you?
You know what's so funny, and I want to ask him about this. I have in dealing with some MMA guys and just been around really the fight game where you have that. To me, that's the biggest everyone is like, pay me now. Are you going to sponsor me? And then quick to turn,
to another sponsor.
When if these guys are looking at the sponsors in MMA, look at what is it, Jacko or
Jocko?
Is it Jocko?
Yeah,
they're completely out of the MMA game now.
Rue is completely
Rue's the other one.
Rue lost a fortune and shut their doors.
Rue
for MMA.
Right, for MMA. I'm trying. Science was it not Science? BSN maybe. One of the supplement companies. A lot of companies have thrown money at MMA, and they're not getting enough out of it, so they're pulling money out. And that's business.
It is business, and it's because it's such a small niche sport. And,
right.
And even though we love it, we do the show, and we do a lot of. It's such a small niche, you can't get your money back. So these guys, in my opinion,
or these guys need to work harder for those companies. I mean, it's a give and take, and I don't think that there's much of a give on the fighter side of it.
And it's not just the fighters, also the fans. The fans that will respond to Alden's tweets.
Yeah.
And Alden gives away a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
Michael Bisping was in his office today signing more stuff. He gave away 3 signed shirts. If you don't win something, now
he's a dick.
Now Alden's an ass because he only gave away 50 things today.
Yeah.
So he's had enough. And he's going to walk away.
I can understand. You play Santa Claus enough, and it's just like, just enough's enough. What are you doing? And especially when you pull back a little. He is trying to run a business. At the end of the day, he's not trying to just have buddies in MMA, and say, hey, I know that guy. Like, no, there's a bottom line. There's quotas to hit. There's business to be made. And if it's a business decision that I don't sponsor you, just for an example, Michael Bisping, it's costing MMA Elite too much money. It's not Alden being a dick. It's not MMA Elite being a dick. It's MMA Elite making a business decision to keep their goddamn doors open.
Right. So we will have Alden on here now in about 5, 6, 8 minutes. Melvin Guillard coming back to the program. It's been a month.
YM?
Already?
Yeah, YA, right?
Yeah, it's YA.
YA.
Yeah.
Not the young assassin, just YA.
Right. Big difference there. It's the new Melvin.
The new Melvin.
Rebranded.
Like the old Melvin.
So
he's
just going to kind of update us a little bit. It's been a month because we were talking I think it was yesterday. It was like, damn, it's been a month already.
Yeah.
Update us. What's going on in Denver? Mac Danzig is his opponent in July.
Coming up.
Big fight for him.
He needs it.
Well, he does. More guys got released today.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about that. Also on the program, Chris Camozzi. And I'm going to I have an issue with a statement. Not necessarily this. Well, Chris
you have an issue, really?
Well, shocking.
He has many of issues.
Yeah,
How about this? What is your opinion on I have nothing to lose? I have everything to gain, but nothing to lose. What's your thoughts on that comment?
You always have something to lose.
Exactly. And I know that Chris believes because he's taking on Sousa, that it's a big fight, but
it is a big fight.
You go in there and you lose this fight, and you're almost on the verge of whatever. Now you're all the way back to the bottom. So a very big fight for Chris Camozzi in about 2 weeks in Brazil. Hubert, God, you know who's on my mind because we were talking radio. Norbert Hudak will be on as we're going to talk a little the best of Raw and SmackDown. Right up your alley.
2012. Always my favorite. I think actually this is probably my wife's favorite DVD.
Really?
Believe it or not. Yeah, because that means when they do the best of, that means my DVR gets cleared of like all old shows. And she'll be like, you have the best ones here, and just starts deleting stuff. So
beautiful.
Yeah, my wife is very excited to see this DVD come through the door.
One of your favorite people, and no, not Bruce Buffer tonight.
Oh, I got a lot of favorite people.
Tim Sylvia on tonight.
Oh,
awesome.
Tim's on.
Tim has a fight coming up in Asia at 1FC.
Speaking of fights that make me laugh, any update on Riddick Bowe? Have we heard what happened with Riddick, Big Daddy Bowe? Yeah, I saw the fight.
I tried to tweet. Did you read the bottom section? Please read the bottom
Bruce
section.
Almighty. Bruce Buffer popping bottles and kissing models. The secret Playboy lifestyle of the voice of the UFC. Wow.
There you have it.
Love that guy.
Whoa.
Okay. Well, you will have a good time. Coming after the UFC in Brazil, Bruce will be on, and you and him can make up or argue.
We're not on opposite sides. We don't have anything to argue about. I'm not a big fan. I'm sure he thinks I'm a nobody that isn't worth his time. So hey, we each go on our day.
That's assuming he even knows who you are.
Oh, he doesn't. He doesn't.
I was going to say that's assuming
I'm not even a speck on his radar, and that's fine because quite frankly, he's not on mine. So. God bless him.
Then in the last 20 minutes or so, we're going to have both representatives from one of the brand new players. With Alden getting out of the game, getting into the game is a brand new management company coming out of sort of Jackson's MMA. It's the guy who runs Jackson MMA. And,
well, then I would say that's out of Jackson's MMA.
And I don't know that. We don't know all the details, and we're going to find out. You just
said it.
He has been running. He has been the general manager since 2007 of Jackson's MMA.
I gotcha.
He is the guy who's the starter, the founder of Jackson's MMA series.
Okay.
Which is in 2010. Some names that came out of that, again, it's in Albuquerque, so I don't expect many people to know, but Julie Kedzik was fighting in there up until, about 6 months ago. Johnny Bedford, John Dotson, Valley Flag. And again, they're all Jackson's guys. So
we're going to have Alden on to talk about why he's getting the hell out of the game, and then we're going to wrap up the show with new guys getting in the game and say, hey, did you talk to Alden? We might want to talk him out of it.
Well,
we might be saving him some dough.
Ricky Cottonstadt, I'm sure I butchered that, who is out of Jackson's MMA, and a good friend of mine, and this is where it's going to be
kind of friend of yours. You can't pronounce his last name.
Not him. The next guy I'm saying, jackass, and Greg Hendrick have formed a partnership. Greg Hendrick is the former operations director of Zuffa.
A business partnership.
Yeah, business partner. Yeah.
Listen, nowadays
right.
you have
You're
to
right.
let's keep it above table here. They formed a business partnership.
Thank you very much.
There you go.
And so both will be on to talk about what Greg brings to the table, what Ricky brings to the table. And there are some questions that I have, like if in fact this is being run out of Jackson's MMA, what if there's a Jackson's MMA fighter?
Shouldn't you
that doesn't want to be managed by the front office? So we'll talk to those guys and then end the program with everybody's favorite Jovan Haye as we talk a little Yapped app, YAPPEDAP.
Awesome.
Follow them on Twitter. Big news yesterday, a little upsetting that I wasn't able to get in touch with them. From what I understand, nobody has really gotten in touch with Shane Carwin, who officially announced, and I know you were going to say you already thought he was retired.
Yeah, ever since the loss to Brock, I thought he was retired.
Well, I mean, we talked about it. We talked about it many times. We were all, when we had him on for the Ultimate Fighter, when he was coaching and he was our weekly guest. We were all pulling for him because he was a nice guy and everything. But he was talking about how he was still banged up. He was still talking about those injuries, and then he got into some detail on it. And I remember, I don't know if we said it on air or after he hung up and we got off the air, and we all looked at it and said, like,
he's not coming back.
You don't bounce back from those things. Not at that age. Not at that. No, you're done, and nothing to hang your head at. You had a decent little run. Probably, short. Obviously, shorter than he would have liked, but good for him to get out of it and not try to keep dragging on.
So he's in the underground right now. I don't want to say hiding. I don't want to say hiding. Well,
he's hiding.
He's keeping a low profile.
There we go. I like that.
A very low profile. This is a guy we could have got a hold of, 3 days before he announced his retirement. He announced his retirement. You can't get a hold of him. There's a reason for that. But God bless him. Good.
All right. Only because I said I would, and it's an entirely packed show, I do want to address real quickly some statements that were made in local radio here in the Tampa Bay area.
Oh, sure.
And it's a shame, and this is what the conversation I had with a mutual friend, the fact that the problem is uneducated media people, uneducated fans talking about a sport that they don't know much about. And I was personally offended, being a guy that trained once in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. All right, maybe twice.
Stood around and watched people train in the same facility. Go on.
I did that as well.
Go on. Yeah.
The comment was, and I would hope that most mixed martial art fans, as well as fighters, would have an object to this. The main goal of mixed martial arts is to rip the person's arm off.
Right. And I think you're saying this is this happened locally in Tampa. But
it's everywhere.
I think these statements happen everywhere.
No,
I think these statements happen when the UFC tries to open a new market. I think they just all the time. I hear these things all over the place, it's just hilarious to me because I hear these same people who are covering NASCAR and there are NASCAR fans
Sure.
who just watch for a crash. Football, you're watching for big hits. The league is trying to act like they're not, but you are. That's what you're watching
DVD
for.
they sell too, I believe.
Is like the biggest hits.
Right.
I mean, they're trying to get away from it now because of the lawsuits, but for people to just say that, MMA is the only sport that, has kind of violence embedded in it it's just not true.
It was just disappointing because it's, this particular show, and like you said, it's everywhere, but this particular show, a former athlete, a broadcaster, and they're in the sports world. And to say that that's
why don't you use their name?
Anthony Booger McFarland,
yeah,
and Rich Herrera,
I mean, they're the ones who did it.
Sure.
There's no,
yeah,
they talked about it.
They did say it.
It's not like we're saying something off record or this was something behind closed doors. They came out and said it, and they were talking because they went to the Mayweather fight.
They were watching the Mayweather. They did. I don't think they went.
No, they were in Vegas. I don't know if they went to it. Yeah, they were
really?
in Vegas. They broadcast from Vegas.
Oh, okay.
So they
I don't listen to them, so I didn't know.
I got an hour drive, so I get desperate in the car. But they were talking about how boxing was so much better than MMA, and I'm sure some of that comes from they just got wined and dined in Vegas by CBS, so they're there to say those things. But yeah, the ignorant statements about how it's just about, and that was the main comment. Like when you go in there, this is Rich Herrera, who I'm wondering if he's really, and he's telling the people, the callers, I know enough about MMA. And he follows it up with, you go in there to rip a person's arm off. Okay, I guess you know enough about MMA. I mean, it's an ignorant statement on a sports platform, and it's disappointing. And you're gonna have this with a new sport. You just are.
Sure.
And it's still a new sport.
And you said it's like NASCAR. People I still hear say I watch NASCAR for the wrecks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a statement that's always going to be made. More you would hope from fans than educated media people. That's all.
Yeah.
And it just kind of bothered me. I kind of put some posts up because it's not true. It bothers me.
And you're talking a guy, Anthony McFarland, who played a defensive tackle for the Bucks and for the Colts. And, he played on defenses with John Lynch and big hitters, Derek Brooks, things like that. And those guys, especially defensive players, they want the big hits. And now they're not looking to maim, the running back. And you might have fans saying, well, take him out. But they would sit down and tell you, well, there's a technique to it. I'm looking to hit a certain way. There's a lot more skill involved than just take him out. And I think if they sat down with anybody who practiced jiu-jitsu, anyone who stepped into the cage, the person who stepped into the cage wouldn't be like, oh, I'm just thinking of ripping his arm off. No, there's technique involved. There's, we work at this thing. It's not just a bar fight.
And I didn't have I don't know how much of the interviews and everything they said. I happen to know a couple people that did call in. And then another caller called in and said how boring it is when the fight goes on the ground with two guys in underwear and blah, 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 blah.
Sure.
I'm not going to argue that. Being a jiu-jitsu guy, sometimes it does get a little boring. But the main goal of MMA is not to rip somebody's arm off.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe, ironically enough, Tim Sylvia is coming on the program.
Yeah.
And I think that's the closest anybody's ever had to having their arm ripped off. And I don't think Frank Mir necessarily went in with that plan in mind.
No. And anytime that does happen, a guy's arm gets broke, it's almost like it's a last resort when they interview the guy. Like, I had it. He had every opportunity to tap out. Like, I want, tap. I'm giving you a tap. Okay. Got to do it.
Well, in the case of Tim, I don't think he really had much of an opportunity.
Yeah.
They slapped it in so quick that he didn't have an opportunity to scream, holler, really anything at all. So.
But it's still funny that, we're at this point with media members who make these blanket statements. Like, I'm not a golf fan. I think golf's boring. But I don't, when I'm talking about golf, I'll also say it's hard as hell. You have to be extremely skilled. Like, there's a respect factor to it. And even sports I don't get or I don't like NASCAR. I understand that there's a lot that goes into it more than just like, oh, they're just driving around the track and they crash. Like, so to make, like I said, make those ignorant blanket statements, it's just pretty disappointing. And it's disappointing that here we are, 20 years, under UFC, a little less than that with Zuffa, that we're still talking about media and writing about human cockfighting, and it's too violent, and it's not
a shame.
And if it's not your cup of tea, just admit that it's not your cup of tea. There's nothing wrong with that. Some people say it's too violent. I'm not going to sit there and say, no, it's not. Watch this. Here's why it's not. Okay, that's your thought. That's fine.
So do you think once as media starts to cycle out and the new batch of younger media starts to come into the world, they're going to be more educated on this? Do you see it this problem fixing itself?
It's ironic that you brought it up that way, because when I did listen, and I promise, I swear to you, I didn't listen but more than 5 minutes. Booger, who, again, I hosted his radio show when he played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He said he is young because somebody brought that up, and he said, I am young, or at least I consider myself young. He's like, I don't know, 32.
No, he's older than that.
36?
Yeah, in that range.
He's a young man. So I would hope that statement, but we're not talking about older Burt Sugar-aged people, and I only say Burt Sugar because I don't know if I ever told you the story. In Detroit, either at the Super Bowl or World Series or All-Star game, I don't remember which, I'm arguing with Burt Sugar at the street corner walking to the stadium.
Right.
He's the boxing guy. I'm the MMA guy, and we're trying to converse, and he hates it and this, that, the other. Yeah. And then such a small world that 2-3 years later, he becomes my boxing expert. Before every HBO event, he's on to promote it. But
like to
he's
me,
the old school.
To me,
Booger's young.
To me, why can't they be separate? I'm bugged by the fact that they have to be put together,
which is stupid.
Which, if you really think about it, now, if you really break it down, boxing is obviously one part of what makes up mixed martial arts. I mean, you could say running is a part of football and baseball, and try to compare those two, but it's apples and oranges. There's so many different things that go on. Running is, there's track and field, and there's also running in football. But the actual running part is just a small part that what makes up football, and what's going on. So to me, I hate the fact that they're lumped together like that.
I dislike it so much that I attempted. I had some inside contact, but we were not able to get Tyson Fury on tonight. Tyson's in Europe, I guess. And we were trying, because I've been dealing with Tony Daviani, who's on Dancing with the Stars, who represents him, et cetera, et cetera. This whole fiasco thing of Tyson Fury coming to fight Cain Velasquez.
Yeah.
And he's going to come and fight one fight and then go back and fight, do his boxing. Let's be honest. And we've already said it. Depending on which sport, I'm choking myself up. I need to get it all worked up. But it's the same thing. It's two different sports. Yeah. To say that you're better at, that's like saying...
Well, and that was one of the ignorant comments also that McFarland had. McFarland was saying to a caller that take Floyd Mayweather, obviously, and put him in the cage now, and he loses, in MMA. He admitted that.
Yeah.
But he said, if he just randomly said, if Floyd Mayweather had that same training, the MMA training, that he'd be the champ. He just threw that out there. No. That's not how it works at all. It doesn't, you just don't go to the classes and then, all of a sudden I'm going to be the champ because I'm Floyd Mayweather. He just says Mayweather's that good of an athlete that he could cross over, and if he was given all the training that the MMA guys do, I mean, it was just just an odd statement.
I would have liked to have been the producer of that program, knowing that it was my final day, knowing that I was being fired later in the afternoon. because when Booger McFarland made those comments about it not being a sport, it's an activity and blah, 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 and that they can't transfer over. And I would have liked to have gotten Marcus Jones on the phone.
Right.
Here's a guy that played the same position as Booger, down the line a little bit, but whatever, who loved both sports. And we know what happened.
Knowing those guys and knowing just how it goes, it could have been a topic fed to them.
And I
and saying hey, let's see if we get calls on this. Let's see if we get calls, and if there is a reaction, hey, maybe we start talking a little more MMA. I mean, it could have easily been just testing the waters.
And I reached out to Rich Herrera and said, I hope that's what this was. I hope it was just to get the blood boiling of some of the people that called
because talk show people do that shit.
Yeah, no, of course. The ring announcer from the XFC called in. The owner of Tough Med, that's who called me to say, hey, listen to this. And he sent me the audio of him calling in and him and Booger going back and forth and whatever. So it's just a shame. We're trying to get this sport to the next level. It's never going to be at the NFL level.
You know what will help? And this will really help. And I look at this, and I know we have nicknames for Wags and Sean KO Radio, but if I'm looking at a lot of these blogs, and I look at people who do podcasts and things like that, don't have a ring name. If you are an MMA media member, don't have a ring name. Don't be Johnny Cage Side. Don't be Jimmy.
I like that one.
Don't be Jimmy Octagon.
So you can't be Showdown Joe?
No, you shouldn't be Showdown Joe. I mean, I'm just dead serious.
Right.
There's no master running back, whatever, or anything football related.
Sure.
Like, if you're a media member, be a goddamn media member. Have a name. You don't need a gimmick. You don't need a ring name. Octagon Jimmy or whatever it is. That's a good way to take a step into respectability in the bigger picture.
Do me a favor, jump on Twitter and get me Octagon Jimmy.
Yeah,
that's my new handle.
I mean, do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. No.
I mean, that always cracks me up is when a lot of these people who have these stages to kind of stand up for MMA and say, like, no, this is respectable. This is this is a real thing. Quoted by Cage Side James. Like, wait, no, what? No, Cage Side James isn't, the voice of this thing. No, if your name's James Butler, be James Butler, who covers MMA.
I got you. No, I agree with you.
That just drives me nuts.
That's why I don't have a name like that.
Good for you. You don't need to be Stranglehold Randy.
I'm just Octagon Jimmy from now on.
Hey, Jesus.
Can I use the word
Armbar Anderson? Says that says that MMA should be taken more seriously. MMA should. Your name's Armbar Anderson. Take off your goddamn tap out shirt and your Anderson Silva shorts and cover the fucking sport.
That's good. I like that.
Well done.
Check if we can get Armbar Anderson as well.
And Armbar Anderson too.
They speaking of Anderson, any thoughts on Anderson Silva and this $50,000 fine?
I'm going to look to see what Kimberly has to say about it on her blog.
To me, it seems like something like this shouldn't happen. I mean, he's done enough media spots where, this should be a well-oiled machine for him and his management and the UFC. There shouldn't be any communication breakdown. He says there was.
I don't believe him. I don't believe him.
Do you think he just left and said, you know what, whatever fine they give me, this $50,000 to just eat it?
I like Anderson Silva. We all know this. As a fighter, respect the hell out of him. He's unbelievable. To me, he's still the best fighter pound for pound.
There we go.
You are correct.
Wow.
No, he did say it, but you are correct. He's the second best pound for pound fighter in the world.
We're not going to get into a pissing match about it. He knew exactly. The way he carries himself, the way, you hear these stories, the fact that he can speak English yet uses the translator, which I love, by the way.
Right.
When I do get into the WWE, that's going to be my gimmick. I'm just going to have a translator. But he knows. I think you make a great point, Wex. It's not his first main event.
No.
It's not his first media tour. He knows. And the way the UFC has these things and they do them, it's clockwork. It's plug and play. It's not a dog and pony show.
You get an itinerary. You were in PR.
Mm-hmm.
You get an itinerary from the PR department, Chris Costello and everybody there in the PR department. You get it. Ed Sorens gets it. George gets it.
They make sure all your peoples have it, so there's
everybody
no
at Black
excuses.
House has it. Yeah.
And usually they have someone right on your hip as soon as you're there.
They do.
To be like the ultimate catch-all. They give you every excuse not to be there.
They send a PR person to these events, whether they're in Albuquerque. With John Jones, they sent Chris Costello to Albuquerque.
Yeah.
Dave Scholler, I believe, was in L.A.
You handhold.
Yep.
Listen, I've done it a million times over, from walking to a locker room to a press room that is 20 feet. You can't just be like, that's where you need to go, because a guy won't show up and be like, I didn't know where to go. You knew where to go.
They always know. So we're going to keep talking about that. I want to touch on Rich Franklin, and I had a conversation with him.
You want to touch on Rich Franklin?
Oh, my God, I got to be careful with you.
All over him.
I want
All over him.
to touch on the conversation I had with Rich Franklin.
Isn't there?
Is that better?
There's a
Yeah.
song
Oh,
about that,
listen,
isn't
that's a huge difference.
No, that's all right. All right. Let's go out to Denver, Colorado, because unbelievably so, it's been a month since we had Melvin Guillard on. So we're going to update and see what's going on with Melvin. A fight just announced.
YA. Melvin YA.
Melvin, how are you?
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm chilling, man.
We appreciate your time, and let's get right into it. It's now been either just under or just over a month. How has the transition to Denver been?
It's been good, man. I mean, the first 2 weeks was a little hectic, with the elevation, but I've been here a month now, and things going great. Training's great. My trainer's coming along really good. I can't be happier right now.
I'm sure you've known longer than we have, but it just came out a couple days ago. Seattle, the 27th. Matt Danzig. Give us a little insight on that.
Yeah, I've actually known since the day I got here a month ago. I knew I was fighting Danzig. I didn't really say much about it, because you know how they are about us saying too much of anything. So I always let the public and the media get a hold of it first before I say anything,
And it's funny how sometimes the fighters don't even know. I know you knew in this case, but I've called a fighter before and said, "Hey, you haven't really? I didn't know that was going to happen." And that happened with Aaron Riley not too long ago. Talk to us a little bit about with the weather, with the environment, with everything there. You said it took a couple weeks to get used to it. People are always saying an advantage, a disadvantage, and it may be a little too early to address it, but will that be an advantage for you?
I don't think anything is much of that when it comes to how you feel.
Yep.
All right, we got to try to Frank. If you can ask Melvin to find a good corner and stand in it.
Yes, sir. I'll try to get him back on.
Thanks, buddy.
I tell you what, Melvin, the last time he called to that dungeon of his that he's living in.
We'll have to address that
out in Colorado.
Well, and he likes it that way, though. He's staying focused.
Just no cell service.
No contact with the outside world.
No cell service.
We're going to have to get him a cell deal, a cell sponsorship.
So, yeah, exactly.
Or a Skype.
On a side note, there is a Kimberly Kimura.
Is there really?
Oh,
that covers MMA?
No, just so there's someone out there.
Someone out there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Octagon Jimmy's all yours, though.
Yeah, you go ahead and corner the market on Octagon Jimmy. Do whatever you want with it. Melvin sounded like he had a little cold there. I wonder if he's feeling all right out there in Denver, Colorado.
Well, it's a little cold out there.
Is it cold out there?
It is
Something like that.
I'm sure.
In this month? What month is it? May?
It's May.
Yeah, it snowed there.
They're a mile up.
Yeah.
It's called the Mile High City for a reason.
So he's fighting in Seattle. Isn't that Danzig's hometown? Is he doing a hometown job?
I don't know where Danzig's.
No, okay.
I don't.
I believe
I'll
so.
get that in a
Really?
second.
I
Hold
believe
on.
so.
I think he's stepping into his backyard, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, if we get him back, we can address that. And
Yeah.
there was a few other things I wanted to address, and I'll touch base on it now. Not touch anything. I'm going to touch base on more.
Big difference, my friends.
More names came off the UFC website today.
Real quick, Danzig, born out of Cleveland, Ohio, fights out of L.A.
Oh, okay. I thought he was a Team Quest guy for a while.
That's what I thought
out there.
so, too.
Yeah, I could be wrong.
Anyway, people getting
More
the
names. More names catching the axe.
Leonard Garcia.
Oh, jeez.
Was that a surprise?
It's about time.
Hold on. We got Melvin back. We got Melvin in the right corner up there. You back, Mel?
Yeah, I'm here, man.
I guess altitude affects not only training but cell service.
Yeah, I guess so, right?
Hey, Melvin, when you're out there in Denver and you're feeling the effects of the altitude, is that something where you think back and say, man, if I did this earlier in my career, I really should have taken advantage and flown out to Denver and done some weeks of training out here?
No. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's not all everybody think it is. I mean, it's just tough up here. Like when I fought Cowboy last August here in Denver, maybe I should have came out a month early. You know what I mean? But other than that, coming back down to elevation, I don't think it's that big of a deal because after 72 hours, you kind of lose all of that extra oxygen, blood cells or whatever. So it doesn't really make that big of a difference. I mean, it is great for training, but I think some people put too much emphasis on it, and they think too much of it. You know what I mean? It's just about training and being in shape. Once you're in shape, you can fight anywhere.
Melvin, some more names came off the UFC website earlier today, and I wanted to ask you about job security. And do you think about that, as an upcoming fight coming, how important a win will be in Seattle?
Hell yeah! I mean, I have 2 losses. One loss was I took the fight last minute to help Cowboy, get a fight, but I still have another loss there, and I think about that every day. I think if I lose the fight, I think I'm gonna be out of the UFC for a while, and I don't want that to happen. The most I've ever lost in the UFC is 2 in a row. I've lost 3 in a row. I've never been that far, and a lot of times, the position that I'm in right now, that's why when I got here a month ago, and I was going to fight in July instead of May, I could have just went back home to Florida and hung out and chilled out. But I said, you know what? I'm going to put in this extra work, extra time, because right now my job's on the line. And I mean, if I have to fight somewhere other than the UFC, I guess I would have to, because fighting is my job. Is how I make a living. But I don't want to fight anywhere else. I want to stay in the UFC. And, I've been successful not getting cut in the last 8 years. And I don't want it to start now, I mean, me and Rashad are the last 2 guys left from season 2, and I want it to stay that way. I mean, I want to be a part of the UFC until I retire.
Melvin, I mean, just how do you feel just in Denver, period? Not just the training stuff, but being out of Florida. Do you feel focused? Do you feel comfortable there yet? Or are you still trying to kind of tie up loose ends down in Florida and really establish Denver still?
Well, I mean, it's hard to sleep at night without my wife being here. I mean, that's been probably the hardest part for me. We haven't been apart in 5 years, and this is the first training camp where I'm here and she's still in Florida, because she has a new job there now, so she can't just leave with me like she used to. And we have 6 little puppies, and she has a lot of stuff to take care of there. But I think if anything, that's probably been the hardest part for me, is being away from my wife for a month. But she'll be up here at the end of the month for Memorial Day weekend to spend 4 days with me. So I think that'll be great. And then, other than that, man, I haven't really thought much about anything else in Florida. I do miss the nice weather. I do miss playing golf at Deer Creek. I miss all the guys up there. But other than that, man, you have to make sacrifices sometimes in order to be successful. And right now, at this point in my career, I really need to sacrifice, because, like we just talked about, my job is on the line. I lose this fight, I could be out of the UFC for God knows how long. So I don't want to be one of those guys. I have a good life with the UFC. I have a good reputation with Dana and Joe Silva, and I just want to hold on to that. I mean, to me, that means that's priceless. Having a relationship with your boss and, the guys that put you in, it's priceless. I mean, you can't put money on it. But, I do fight and I do make money working with these guys, and I love my job. So, but, I have to make those sacrifices, and, the wife has to be home at this time. But you know what? When I'm in the ring on the 27th and I get my hand raised, it's going to be all worth it.
So, Melvin, with all that being said, how has this last month been for your training camp? How has your camp been going so far?
Well, the camp itself has been going great. I mean, all the guys here are great. I have a lot of good teammates. Coach Trevor's been amazing coach, and I always knew he would be. We always did click pretty well. We crossed paths a few times while I was at Jackson's, and we got to work together a little bit. And I figured it was only a matter of time before I ended up, being, part of Team Grudge. Me and him always had a really, really good relationship. He's a tremendous coach, and so far so good. I mean, I've been not only working on my MMA, but I've been working on my boxing a lot. Getting my foot movement back, getting that bounce in my step. Stop standing in front of guys like I was doing when I was training down in South Florida. And I don't take anything away from the Dutch style of kickboxing, but I had to leave that behind because that style just wasn't fitting me, you know what I mean? And it showed in the Jamie Bourne fight. I wasn't as mobile as I normally am. So, to get back up here and to get back to my roots of boxing and, get back to, knocking guys out, that's what I want to do. I want to get back to not just winning fights. I want to get back to knocking guys out. And I think I can do that with Trevor.
Melvin, you mentioned Grudge, where you now are, for the past, month or so. What are the thoughts at Grudge with the announcement yesterday of a Grudge fighter in Shane Carwin retiring?
Oh, I didn't even hear about that yet. You know what I mean? I guess I didn't even hear about it yet, but I kind of figured something like that was going to probably happen because, he's been suffering with a lot of injuries here and there, and he hasn't been that healthy, and I think that probably had a big part to do with it. I didn't know he retired, though. This is the first I'm hearing about it.
Yeah, Shane tweeted it out yesterday and hasn't really talked much about it. He's been a guest on our show many times, and we were trying to get him on, but, with the Denver connection, with, everybody out there in Grudge, I just didn't know, what the thoughts were. Let me ask you a golf question real quick. Not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, with the Masters and the Tiger Woods thing. As a golfer, would you ever consider picking up the phone and calling in that somebody made a mistake?
No, I would not do that, man. I mean, come on, dude. Honestly, I don't even think Tiger realized that he made a bad decision by dropping the ball that far away. You know what I mean? There's so much going through those guys' head. He already had the pressure of getting his 50th major. He's only 4 majors away from what's the name? I forget his name. But not Arnold Palmer, but Jack Nicholson. And, I think he had so much going through his head, and even with that bad drop, he still thought he could fight back, you know what I mean? But it's all good. I mean, it's Tiger Woods, and he's going to be there for a while. And I think he's going to do great. But this weekend I'm hoping that my buddy Ricky Fowler can do great at Sawgrass, TPC Sawgrass. He's one of my best friends, and I've always been a big fan of his, and even more of a fan down there with buddies. So hopefully he can get something done this week. But the Tiger Woods incident, I wouldn't be that guy. Those guys play. Like Tiger Woods said, if Kobe Bryant traveled, he wouldn't call a damn basketball arena and say, "Hey, that was a travel." Or more like baseball, because the umpires make wrong calls, right? So what if a fan called in and said, "Hey, he was really out on first base"? So then would they overturn the first base run, or would they still call it safe? You know what I mean? So at that point, I think a lot of people should just mind their own business and let people play the sports that they play. And it's the same thing with us being fighters. Most people think that they can do what we do, and they sit on the couch and they drink beer and they, whatever. But when the reality comes to it, 90% of people that talk about fighters, they can't fight themselves. You know what I mean?
Sure. Well, I think the guy that called in is a golfer. I think he's a pretty bigwig on one of the smaller tours. Which means he's not. I understand.
So he's not. If he's not in the PGA, he should mind his business.
All right.
Obviously, he's not in the PGA for a reason.
All right. More importantly than talking about golf, and of course it was very important to talk about your fight, I need you to make sure that you are on a late flight out of Seattle on the 28th.
Huh?
You need to be on a late flight home after your fight from Seattle because we're going to go to...
Randy wants to give you a back rub.
It's the best seafood buffet. It's the best seafood buffet in the country at a restaurant called Salty's, and we're all going to go there on Sunday morning.
Okay, it's in Seattle?
Yeah, it's in Seattle.
All right, cool, no problem. I'll make sure I arrange that.
Yeah, you, the wife, we're going to take a whole party of people out there. We're going to have a good time. So, you need to take care of business. Good. Then you need to take care of business in Seattle, and then we're going to go to breakfast at a huge buffet on Sunday.
Sounds good to me, my man. Sounds
all right,
good.
Melvin. Thanks for your time. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Melvin.
All right, buddy. See you guys later, man.
Take care. Melvin Guillard out there in Denver.
So no on the back rub? Probably.
Well, it's actually going to be at the seafood place, but he's going to use melted butter.
He's going to really get in there with the good stuff.
Oh my God.
He's going to use it on Melvin first, and then he's going to dip his
Okay,
maybe
crab
maybe
legs.
one of those naked sushi layouts that you hear about.
I have heard about that.
Yeah, oh yeah. There you go.
Oh,
You can serve Melvin and his wife sushi right off you. It'll be a whole thing.
Cool.
Tweet some photos. Get your followers up.
Oh my!
Step your tweet game up.
Oh my God, I don't even know where to go.
Randy Brigade, tune in.
Yeah, Randy Brigade. Yeah, whatever.
Love it.
We will pass on that one, but we are going to get a hold of Chris Camozzi here momentarily. Big fight coming up. I have been in contact with Alden from MMA Elite. He's been trying to call in. We're going to get him at the top of the hour.
Okay.
And we can address all the things that we kind of were talking about. Also at the top of the hour, we will have Norbert Hudak talking a little wrestling. Hey, next week's WrestleMania.
Next week is WrestleMania DVD release.
Well, next week's WrestleMania conversation.
Okay.
Next week is WrestleMania Hall of Fame DVD talk giveaway.
The whole deal.
-1, because that's one I will watch.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I did watch a little bit of the Hall of Fame stuff, but we will give those away next week.
Fun.
Rich Franklin is coming out and talking about...
He's coming out?
What? God,
wow.
God, you're on a roll.
Jeez Louise.
Rare form.
Jason Collins and Rich Franklin, you're breaking news.
All right, with that said, let's change subjects. How's that? Chris Camozzi on the line.
All right.
We're going to touch base with Chris.
Touch his base?
Would you shut up?
Wow.
Chris, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
All right, did you just get word that your opponent has changed again?
Not yet, as far as I know, unless you're breaking some more news.
I'm figuring that you should be expecting that call, momentarily. Talk about what it's been like. What, 4 changes?
3.
Well, the 4th is the one that's coming.
Yeah, well, as soon as you hang up, I'm sure they'll call you and have a new one.
Yeah, it's been cool, I guess you can say. They, obviously the last change they gave me was a step up on the card, to the co-main event and everything. So of course I can't complain about that. I'm getting the opportunity to fight a legend in Jacare, which I'm real excited about. I've always been all about fighting guys that I've seen on TV or that I've followed throughout the sport, matchups that excite me, and this is one of them.
Your previous opponent was a ground fighter. Obviously, Jacare is as well. Is that one of the reasons that the decision to take this fight took less than 2 seconds?
No. It's just, they gave me a big opportunity that I've been asking for, so it didn't really matter who it was. I would have said yes.
I mean, usually when guys want, when they're asking for their big opportunity, it's they win a fight and they have a full training camp to prepare for that big opportunity. This is coming kind of last second. Has your preparation, I don't know, has it changed just because of who he is and kind of his name, or has your game plan and your training stayed the same and, just a new name on the other side of the piece of paper?
The game plan stayed quite a bit the same. There's a few changes, as far as, some things he does that I think I can capitalize on. But other than that, everything's stayed a lot the same. I'm more focused on what I'm going to do rather than what he's going to do or what I think he's going to do.
And again, I hate to keep pushing the Brazilian jiu-jitsu stuff. We know he's a ground guy. I know that you've had some submissions, wins as well. But is it important to keep it off the mat?
Every fight I go into, I always plan on striking and stuff. But I would say it's important to keep it off the mat. But I'm not going to have that in my head where I'm panicking or anything. Defensively, I feel pretty comfortable. Obviously, we all know, no matter how much jiu-jitsu I do, I'm not going to be better than him at just jiu-jitsu. But this is MMA, so there's a lot more variables in there. So I feel comfortable anywhere it goes. But in the end, we have my game plan, and I'm sure he has his.
Chris, we read and we're on the phone with Chris Camozzi, who fights Jacare here in 2 weeks.
Like 10 days.
Yeah, in about 10 days. I read a quote somewhere, whether it was, I'm not sure if it was a tweet, quote, whatever, that you mentioned you have nothing to lose with this fight. Is that really your mindset going in? Because, I mean, your career's obviously on a roll. You're in a good place. Is that really where your mind is, that you have nothing to lose?
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, as far as the UFC is concerned, he's ranked higher than me. this is a fight that not very many people are giving me that they think that I have a chance of winning. So, I go in there and fight with nothing to lose, and those are the most dangerous fights for guys like Jacare to take.
Fights in Brazil next Saturday. You've already fought there once. Not that it's an advantage, but with the food, with the language difference, is it easier knowing that you're going back down there and you've already been there once or maybe even more, to get kind of used to what you're going to go down there and be around?
Yeah, I think so. I have a few things set in place. I'm going to have Diego Moraes in my corner, who's a jiu-jitsu black belt, and he lives in Rio. So, even with the language barrier, he'll be able to help me out. He speaks English to it, and I do a lot of training with him. But other than that, I've been down there. I know what the food's like. I think I know what to expect, and I think everything will run smoothly.
Just be careful and don't get stopped by the police.
I'll do my best.
Well, I don't know if I ever told you that story. We got pulled over. I was with the UFC doctor and one of the judges, and we got shook down by the police.
Oh, yeah? Was that the last one?
It was Anderson fought Okami.
Oh, wow.
So it was 2 before. It was on the day after we were going to go do some sightseeing. And Jeff Davidson, who I know you know well, Chris Lee, one of the judges, myself, and our translator, whatever. Yeah, we got pulled over, so be real careful.
Yeah, that makes for a bad day, huh?
It was interesting because they had guns pulled. There was pistols. There was a machine gun. It was definitely some interesting times. With you being moved up to the co-main event, and obviously I don't want to know, and maybe you guys do, but I don't, dollars. But
I want to know.
Is it more dollars now that you're the co-main event with Jason getting sponsorship?
Yeah, sponsorship-wise, it definitely makes a difference. We've had an easier time finding sponsors, but you'll see a lot of my same sponsors that I always have on there because I have a pretty loyal group of sponsors that I always use, and I always look forward to representing. So, I'm glad it'll finally pay off even more for these companies that have supported me on the undercards and stuff too. So, it's definitely been a plus monetarily, and the timing's perfect. I'm getting married here in July, and the reason I asked to take another fight was to make some more money for my new family.
Someone's got to pay for that DJ and buffet, huh?
Yeah, yeah, that stuff's not cheap.
Well, it's definitely interesting that's how you just worded it, Chris, because we're going to have Alden coming up, the former CEO of MMA Elite, and we were talking about some of the athletes or a lot of the athletes that are only worried about themselves and not worrying about their sponsors. And, for that to be one of the things that you've addressed, that it's better for them, not necessarily more dollars in your pocket, but better for them because it's now the co-main event, I think means and says a lot about you.
Oh, well, thank you. We always try to build a solid relationship with sponsors, in and out of the cage. I always represent them, and, I'll sell stuff for them if I can. I go above and beyond to help out the sponsors, and, I really appreciate all the ones that have stuck with me since the beginning, and, it's great to have a little bit more payoff for them as well.
And that statement comes right out of the Jason Janae handbook.
Yeah, Jason's been great. And Great Media and Jason have been my management since long before the UFC, and they've really helped groom me and teach me about the business side of this sport and marketing and everything else. Where I'm able to pass it down and help my brother and a bunch of other guys at the gym.
And it's definitely an important aspect, of the sport. Before we let you go, and we try to do it as much as possible. We've talked about your sponsors, but you didn't name them. So why don't you throw some names out there so people know, who your sponsors are? Definitely,
yeah. So big thank you to Jamie Josta and Hatebreed. Let's see, we got Rev Gear, as always. Venom Fight Gear. Let's see, Newsco. It's a oil rig drill company. They're great. They just got on with me. Some friends of mine actually work for the company, and they were on board even before the co-main event or anything like that. Let's see, I got Tool King, a local company here, and we're finalizing the rest of them today, so I'll be more than happy to mention them after.
And, we'll do that when we get you back on. And, of course, if anybody else wants to get involved, all they have to do is tweet you or get a hold of Jason, I'm sure, correct?
Yeah, definitely. I'm always available to the fans at Chris Camozzi on Twitter. and as well as my website, chriscamozzi.mma.com. I always try to respond to everybody, or, if anybody wants specific blogs written about training or videos or anything, I'm always more than happy to fill requests. So sign on there and keep in contact with me.
All right, Chris, I normally don't do this, but we got a caller calling in wants to ask you a question. Are you cool with that?
I got to look around the gym and make sure it's not one of my teammates calling to rag on me. Go ahead.
All right, go ahead, Frank, and put Rodney on.
All right. Go ahead, Rodney.
Hey, Melvin. How you doing, man?
Melvin's long gone.
I'm doing good. Look, my question was, you made a comment about, you've got your game plan and they've got theirs. And my question was how often do you really stick to the game plan, or is there more often than not this point in the fight where you just say, you know what, let's go back to primal instinct, and your corner guy is saying the same thing,
Well, we put together game plans, and we train for weeks and weeks at it, so that hopefully I go on autopilot in there and just rather than having to think about it. And, ideally you want to follow the game plan step by step, but it's fighting, and things change, so you always have to adjust on the fly. And, that's up to me and my cornermen to work together. And, we have a long-time relationship, so we're able to adjust on a minute, in between rounds.
Chris, wasn't Mike Tyson's comment once, everybody has a game plan until you get punched in the face?
It was. It's a good comment.
It really, truly is. Chris, thank you very much for your time. Best of luck to you next week in Brazil, and then let's get you back on right after the fight.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Take care.
Awesome,
Chris Camozzi, everybody. You can follow him on Twitter. A really good dude, too.
I hope his future wife appreciates that. I'm taking this fight because someone's got to pay for this wedding. And so he's not just taking any fight.
Well, that's a good husband.
To Brazil to fight Jacare.
I believe the statement, another famous statement is, happy wife, happy life.
Yeah, that's what they say.
So, and Rodney, thanks for the call. Thanks for the question. I appreciate that. In the second hour, we will be talking a little wrestling with Norbert Hudak. Alden Halpern has contacted me. We will have him on at 7:10 Eastern Standard Time. We have a major giveaway. I don't know what it is that Alden will be giving away. We will not give it away tonight because we have so many people that listen to the show after. They go to Radio I.O. We get a lot of Grossman. A lot of people listen after, so we want to make sure that they're eligible as well.
Is it tickets to the Randy Harris Naked Sushi Party in Seattle?
With flight.
Featured guest, Melvin Guillard.
Is it that, or is it not?
It's not.
It's not. Okay,
No, it's not.
We're clear now. Now we know that's off the table.
This is something that is given to that will
fair question.
That Alden will be. No, it's not. That will be given away from MMA Elite. We also have two giveaway tonight. The signed poster from the World Series of Fighting, which was there in Atlantic City. So again, ironic. Tim Sylvia coming up in 35 minutes. The main event, Andre Arlovski. So Tim and Andre just can't get away from each other.
Is this their 7th time they're fighting?
Well, they're not fighting. I'm just saying we're giving away the poster signed by Arlovski, and Tim Sylvia is coming on tonight.
I gotcha. Okay.
It's just,
I thought you were telling me they were lining up again.
Well, we can ask Tim. We can ask Tim, after he fights Tony Johnson at 1FC. I know you'll be watching that.
I don't think I will be.
Dude, 6-1. He won a fight in Bellator, this guy, and he lost to Cormier.
Okay. All right.
And Big Tim's 31-8.
He's looking for a name.
Absolutely.
He's looking for a name. I want to ask Tim about that. He's on the name side of the card right now.
He is, because it's like the bottom of the under.
People want to say they beat Tim Sylvia.
And I know what you've said in the past, and I know, and Tim knows, and everybody knows he's on the downside, but he is 31-8. You know what I'm saying? It's not like he does have a name, which is what you're saying, and he still has a pretty impressive record.
That one of those losses is still to Ray Mercer, right?
It still is.
Okay.
And it always will be.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. Just checking.
Yeah, no,
I didn't know if it changed.
So does that mean that one loss, counts as 4?
In my eyes, counts as 10.
Does it? All right. So Tim's 31-18-1. No,
that's still pretty.
Not 18. It would be 17. 31-17.
It counts as 1. I understand.
Talking about boxing, I watched the video, Derek, that you put on Twitter yesterday. It was excellent.
The Diego Corrales?
Yes.
Luis Castillo?
The
fight?
10th round.
10th round's the best round I've ever seen in
If
boxing.
you have not, if anyone hasn't seen that, you need to check it out. It's great.
Yesterday was the 8-year anniversary of that fight.
5 years of the death?
Castillo Corrales, I think 6 years. He
6 years.
died on the anniversary of that fight. Yeah.
Isn't that the sport where they try to
Knock
rip
each other's
arms
heads
off and hit them over the head with their arms?
That's a sweet science. That's always my favorite is when the boxing people talk about how boxing isn't violent because there's a lot more science to it. Really? You talk to Roger Mayweather? You ever hear him talk?
Yeah.
Real scientists, ladies and gentlemen. They're looking to do the same thing. Execute their craft. Don't act like one's better or higher than the other.
All right, first hour in the books. Second hour coming up in about 4 or 5 minutes. It's action-packed. We have Tim Sylvia coming up, Jovan Haye coming up, the brand new management company coming out of Jackson's MMA coming up, Norbert Hudak coming up, Alden coming up from formerly, I guess we call him the former CEO of MMA Elite. A ton of stuff still to get to, and we'll try to get to as much as we can when we return. 855-483-6646.
Wait, no,
There's the phone number.
Wow.
no no douche buffer? I thought we were going to get a douche buffer commercial coming out of the break.
My 360 view of the UFC. The
Yes!
upcoming autobiography from Bruce Buffer. Bruce peels back the curtain for a look like no other into the life of one of the most famous voices in combat sports history. It's time. My 360 view of the UFC.
If you're hearing these words, chances are that you, like me, are a fan of the great sport we call mixed martial arts. I'm that guy you see at every UFC match, roaring into the microphone. Yeah, I might not be the most subtle or refined announcer in the business, but I hope I communicate my passion for the sport in a way no other announcer does.
Pre-order your copy today at Amazon.com or BufferZone.net. Available May 14th.
May 14th. I'm putting it in my phone now.
I'm going to get you a copy.
Less than a week.
And I'm going to ask them to personalize to you.
Please. That'd be great. I'd love it.
I think you will enjoy.
I hope he communicates his passion for the sport through the book.
Oh, damn, I did forget. And you need to tweet Chris Camozzi and let him know that I'm talking about it right now. The Chris Camozzi MMA T-shirts are now available on his website.
Okay.
And I wanted to ask him what took him so long.
Yeah, he's been in the game for a little bit now.
You would have thought.
Let's draw up a T-shirt, huh?
But the shirts are now available, so hit him up at Chris Camozzi MMA UFC on Fox 8.
Yeah, do that.
Is coming up next Saturday.
That's a tough fight for him.
It's a very tough.
You brought up a good point.
Thank you.
When you say, I know it's a rarity.
I'm being you. I saw it somewhere. I read a text. I saw a tweet.
Right. I heard it from Randy that he said that, nothing to lose. There's a lot to lose in this one.
Absolutely. You're working your way up. And, I believe, if you believe that you're top 10, if you're top 5, if you're on the way to a title, you could fight anybody at any time. But like you said, and like you addressed, great question, by the way. I'm glad you came up with it.
Thank you.
You do have something to lose because it's a loss. You're on a 4-fight win streak, and now you're kind of pushed back and starting all over again.
Yeah, what's interesting, too, is, and I know he doesn't pay attention to this, so I'm not asking him, but the guys who come over from Strikeforce lately have been on a roll.
They have.
And everyone's talked about how hungry they've been.
So when we talked to Chris Camozzi, he said how important this is. And how good it is for his sponsors because now he's a co-main event. He was looking after his sponsor. So it's kind of ironic timing that now we're going to have somebody on the line that's not overly happy with some things. We talked about it on the Friday show, and now we have, I guess it's going to be weird to say, but the former CEO of MMA Elite, Alden Halpern. Alden, how are you?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
Not too bad. We just wanted to get you on the national show, Knockout Radio, on MMA Weekly and Radio I.O. and the whole 9 yards to kind of touch base a little bit on this. You're one of the most giving people on Twitter. You're giving prizes. You gave away some more today, even though you've gave up and resigned from MMA Elite. Talk to us a little bit about what happened. Was this a fast decision?
I'm going with the shocker.
Well, I mean, it got to a point. We've been working. This has been coming for quite a long time. When I first got into the business, it's a funny story because a friend of mine told me this company is available. I go, MMA, isn't that where they hit each other over the head with chairs? And we started laughing, and he goes, no, you got to come with me to an event. So I went down and I saw a Randy Couture fight, and I was hooked. I got to tell you, I fell in love with the sport instantly. So I bought this company thinking, you know what, I was about to retire, but you know what, this will be a lot of fun. This is something I can enjoy doing, and, I met some of the fighters. I started really getting into it. And I decided that I'll make this personal. We'll take good care of the people we get involved with and so on. And over time, it stopped being fun, to keep it simple. Sadly as it may seem, first of all, I've made some incredible relationships, some wonderful friendships. In fact, Mike Bisbane came by for about 3-4 hours today with his wife, and we were just hanging out and having a few laughs. Roy Nelson, great guy. Fabrizio Doom. There's a lot of great guys, King Mo, a lot of great guys. It just became a little bit stressful for me when the work became, not to say dishonest, but everybody has their own way of doing it, and I didn't think there was any cohesiveness between the UFC, the fighters, the sponsors, the managers, the coaches, and it became very difficult. And I didn't want it to be difficult. I wanted it to be something I can enjoy.
Alden, there have been talks before with fighter sponsorship that the UFC had talked about controlling, who can be sponsored, and I know they have shut some people out. And then fighters have talked about, well, it should be up to us to get our sponsors. Perfect world scenario, if you're running the show as far as sponsorships go for the UFC, where do you stand on that? How would you run it to make it better?
Well, I think that, first of all, there needs to be some kind of rule set for everybody, that everybody, it's an old story. You know the rules, you can play the game properly. But if you don't know the rules and they're constantly changing, it creates chaos, or what I call the circus environment. I think the UFC should, to a certain degree, they'll have the right to say who's allowed on their events. At the same time, they have to have, as far as I'm concerned, if I'm a fighter, a good reason to leave somebody out. But there's a tab to be paid. I think everybody pays a fee to sponsor in the UFC. So I don't know if you were aware of that. I don't know, some people pay $50,000. We're on a different type of agreement where we've been doing business with them for many years, and they get a percentage of what we do. But either way, you want to keep certain. You want to try to keep your sport as clean as possible. At the same time, you need to. I think that the UFC should be more involved in helping the fighters get some sponsors. The fighters seem to be out on their own, and it gets very ugly out there a week before the fight. These guys trying to get sponsorships.
Alden, let's go back to what happened last Tuesday, Wednesday morning, whenever it kind of went down. And I just wanted to get the story straight from you so that all these rumors that are floating around. Correct me if I'm wrong, a business decision was made at MMA Elite to either cut back or cut out some fighters, kind of like what the UFC just did yesterday or today and let some fighters go that are no longer employed by Zuffa. Is that kind of what went down last Tuesday and Wednesday, and then some people that you've been loyal to decided not to be loyal back?
Well, we have decided we didn't cut fighters. Contracts ran out, and we chose not to renew them. We always live up and honor our contracts. We don't feel it's proper, even though somebody might be in violation of the contract. It's not quite. That's not how we operate. We just let the contracts run through. We pay, and we chose not to renew a lot of the contracts. We just felt as if that wasn't the plan. It was nothing about any fighter in particular. We just decided that we were going to go and make fight deals. All of our fighters for years have been on monthly payments. And in this economy, it just doesn't work that way. There's not a lot for a lot of guys to do in between fights. And we were still paying them a lot of money in between fights for doing nothing. And that's not their fault. So we just changed our way of doing business, and every fighter was made clearly aware that we would continue to sponsor them in the ring. So it was a little disappointing because every fighter that we signed on a monthly, I took it very personally and went over and above everything I promised. I went even further, got involved with people's wives, helped some people with psychologists, you name it, I did it. And, the same people who I helped were the first people to say they loved me when I was paying, and the minute the deal changed, and they would have made the same amount of money, they turned around and like I was a dirty dog. And I couldn't believe it.
Hold on 1 second. You just said that they were still going to make the same amount of money?
Pretty much. I mean, we promised them we would sponsor them for their fights. And when you do just fights, you usually pay a little bit more than when you do on the monthlies. It's economics, So sure. I just told them, don't worry, we're in your corner. We're going to sponsor you anyhow. It's beyond belief. Now, understand that most of them were okay, but it was 2 or 3 of them, just one in particular, but a couple of them, it was just ugly, and I just didn't want to deal with it. It wasn't fun. And it wasn't only that. Every time I would say something on Twitter or on one of these shows, one of the MMA websites, whether it be ESPN or one of these other guys, are always constantly misquoting me. It came between me and some friends. That they, using an example, last week, a couple of websites quoted me as saying that I was Congo's manager, which I'm clearly not his manager. At the same time, I never spoke to anybody. Nobody. And it went all over the internet, and my very dear friend of mine, Anthony McGann, who is Congo's manager, was very upset with me. He couldn't even dream that these guys just made it up or misinterpreted whatever they wanted to interpret. But, we worked it out, Anthony and I. We're together a long time. And obviously, within a half an hour, they redid the story, taking that part out. People have to be responsible for what they put on the internet. It's just like a newspaper, the print, but it gets out to a lot more people faster, and they're not responsible for it.
And that's something that I preach on this show all the time with my PR background, and we talk about it with the MMA media especially, and it seems like that's just the worst case scenario. Alden, when you're working with these fighters, and I mean, we've been around MMA, we meaning us around the table here, obviously you have, and there have been a lot of companies spring up and disappear. Spring up, looks like it's the next hot thing, disappear. You guys have had a bit of longevity. You're stepping away because it's not fun anymore because of some of these altercations. I guess altercations is a little harsh word, but with fighters, do people know what they're getting into when they say we're going to get into the MMA, clothing or things like that? Do people know what they're getting into when they start these things?
Well, first, let me tell you that I still own the company, and the company, we're doing it extremely well. We're doing a lot of big numbers. We're Walmart-based. We're spreading out into other stores. And just one more clarification, it wasn't just about the fighters. There was interactions with the UFC and the other organizations that we were doing business with, and managers. So there was a lot of things involved. I don't want it to be just about the fighters. It was
sure.
And nobody did anything so terrible other than the inconsistencies. I'm a type of guy, been in business 40 years. I like a little bit more professionalism in my life when I'm spending and making money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. This atmosphere doesn't doesn't
like
really.
I say, I call it the 3-ring circus, and it starts 2 weeks before every big event. But getting into the MMA world of business, there is no real MMA clothing business, and this is what a lot of people don't understand. You can't put a T-shirt, like for example, I put on Roy Nelson at the walkout, or you do a Michael Bisping walkout, and people think we sell thousands of them. And the truth is, this customer, they're not really buying those walkouts. We do them for the fighters, and we probably sell, if I tell you 120 is a huge number, it's not about that. The reason we went into the ring, we are considered an MMA lifestyle brand. We're not a fight brand. A lot of the stores, like Kohl's and Penny's, are staying away from fight brands. That's not their philosophy in doing business. They don't carry boxing. They don't really carry MMA. This was really started with an Affliction-esque type of a look that was Ed Hardy back in the day, where it was fashion. And it just so happened that a lot of the MMA brands went down that fashion road. But MMA today, especially in young men's with boys, parents aren't wanting their kids wear head crush and this fighter and that fighter and choke them out. It's just not what we want our kids wearing. On the other hand, MMA Elite is about, or hopefully we try to make it about, the way of training, which athletes in all sports do MMA, for training. And that was the idea, to make a lifestyle brand for men, women, and kids, and stay away from the ring was just meant to get the brand Elite out there.
Sure,
right
to showcase
now,
it.
We've cut back 80%. because it's not necessary. Not that we don't believe in it, just no reason in that venue. This year we have some NFL players wearing it and some extreme sports, Shaun White and those type of guys. So people who go in and start a T-shirt line and want to go into the MMA world, it's very, very difficult. And there's limited places you could sell it.
Just to jump in real quick, Derek, there is a rumor that we will be getting MMA Elite-sponsored fighters on this program. Just a rumor that I heard.
We always like that.
It's the funny thing is, all Randy has to is ask, and I shall deliver. Because I like I said, I was asked, to be honest with you, I've been asked to do a lot of shows, obviously, over the last couple of weeks. And yours is the only real show I want to do. I don't want to get too involved. I'll get misquoted everywhere else. I feel safe here. And my fighters all know that. And in fact, I mentioned it to Michael Bisping today. And whenever you guys want to have any of the MMA Elite-sponsored fighters, I'm sure it's a phone call away.
Yeah, we had Bisping on before his fight last week. Solid guy. Not surprising, but it was awesome talking to him. Alden, do you feel like the managers, and again, I don't want to just put it on the fighters, but I'll say the managers and the management teams, do you feel like they're shooting themselves in the foot by the way they are conducting business with sponsors and instead of being inviting and trying to do the right thing and getting more companies and money involved in MMA and growing it, do you feel like they're shooting themselves in the foot by being very short-sighted with their comments and just with how they conduct business?
I don't think it's anybody's fault other than they're not experienced. You know, anybody can come out and say they're a manager. You know, some kid in the gym decided, I'll be a manager. And too much of that is around, and they're too young and inexperienced to understand. I don't think that if they are shooting themselves in the foot, it's not an intentional thing. I think that the part of the frustration for me is I've been doing business for 40 years, and I continue doing business in this area the same way I've always done it, and I stood out like a sore thumb. I do things professionally. We make a contract. We do it this way. We live up to the contract. We take care of our obligations, and a lot of these young folks don't understand that. Doesn't mean they're doing anything intentionally wrong, and that's why I'm not upset or angry at any of the fighters. I understand. You can't get really too angry at anybody who does things not knowing or not thinking. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I think's the problem. There's not a lot of professional organizations out there managing fighters. There are a few. There are a few, but generally speaking, most of these people are friends in the gyms who are representing each other. I must get, before any event, not a strike force anymore, but local events, I get 30, 40 emails a week. Do you want to sponsor these fighters? People I never heard of. You know, some event in Georgia, some event. And it's sad because I wish there was more money out for the fighters. I think the fighter in the long run is the one who's going to suffer the most, especially the non-headliners. The guys who are trying to get ahead are just going to get murdered financially.
Now, what's next for you? You're stepping away from this. You still own the company. It's out, like you said, it's in good hands. It's making numbers.
Is this like a retirement, Alden? And don't ever say never, and you may come back.
Well, I'm not going to be involved with MMA any longer. My only tie to MMA is the Twitter people. Like I have about 82,000 people who follow us, and you know, I enjoy. What we've done is converted it more to a friendship Twitter thing than about business. I did that giveaway today because Michael was in the office and Stephen was busy, and I wanted to do a good one. But I think that there's other things in my life. I have a company with many, many brands. We just signed a deal with the band Nickelback to do a Nickelback denim company for men's jeans that we're going to probably put in Macy's and Penny's. And we're doing a big brand called Congrata, which is for the Latino market, which we're partners with Fox Deportes and Fox Sports. So, you know, there's a lot going on, big deals, a lot bigger than the MMA deal I've had working. So I think that now that these deals have become more solid, it's going to take a lot more of my time. And so that's where I'm going to be focusing.
All right, with all that said, and I did see that your great giveaways today when Michael came in, and I know that you're now kind of stepping back, but we're going to kind of put you on the spot. We're going to allow you to give away whatever you want to do, and I have a great way to do it. which is going to require people to not only have listened to your interview, but download the interview and re-listen. So what are you going to give away tonight?
What would you like to? Me, I'm easy. I love the fans. And I think the biggest people who suffer in everything that goes wrong are the fans. Everybody better start remembering, and that's the problem with the business today. Everybody forgets the most important person is the guy who works his ass off all week and goes into a store and reaches deep in his pocket to pay for our products. So that's the person I'm concerned about, and that's why I love giving back. So Michael did me a favor, and everybody, I think, saw his MMA Elite walkout shirt. It had the Michael Bisping, and I had him sign one just for your radio show tonight, autographed, and it's a walkout. We've never given any of these away. We usually keep those for ourselves or frame them. So for tonight, just for this show, I put one aside just to give away here.
Awesome. Well, there's the prize. We've already said once what we're going to do. We're going to have people re-listen because they might not have paid very close attention to everything you said, and we're going to give it away by one of the answers that you gave. Alden, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for coming on, and I'm going to take you up on that offer. We're going to start bothering you for a lot of interviews from here on out.
Well, I just hope all the other stations and publications could take some lessons from the professionalism that you guys exhibit all the time. I always feel comfortable and safe in your hands.
I appreciate that, sir. Talk to you soon. Thanks, Alden.
Be well.
It's time. My 360 view of the UFC. The upcoming autobiography from Bruce Buffer. Bruce peels back the curtain for a look like no other into the life of one of the most famous voices in combat sports history. It's time. My 360 view of the UFC.
If you're hearing these words, chances are that you, like me, are a fan of the great sport we call mixed martial arts. I'm that guy you see at every UFC match.
Yes, you are. Ah, there we go.
Damn it, I'm sorry, Randy. Wrong spot.
Wrong spot, Frank.
I thought that's the one you wanted me to run. That's my fault.
Listen, you never have to apologize for running a Bruce Buffer spot with me, Frank. It's Randy you have to answer to.
My apologies, Randy.
Talk to Randy. Me, I could hear Bruce Buffer's sweet voice all day.
Here's the right one.
Celebrate your passion for the Ultimate Fighting Championship at the UFC Fan Expo presented by Fox Sports 1 on Friday and Saturday, July 5th and 6th at the Mandalay Bay Convention Center. Meet your favorite fighters and industry icons. Attend special Q&A sessions and keynote addresses. Train with legends of the sport. Participate in grappling and fitness challenges and so much more. UFC Fan Expo presented by Fox Sports 1 in Las Vegas, July 5th and 6th. The Ultimate Fan Experience. Tickets and exhibitor space available now at UFCFanExpo.com.
All right, I know the question that we're going to use, but how do we get people to respond? Because if they do it by Twitter, then every Tom, Dick, and Harry is now going to know the answer. You know what I'm saying?
I just have to laugh after Alden talked about our professionalism from
exactly.
top to bottom. Number one, I didn't think he knew he was talking to Knockout Radio. I was a little confused if maybe he thought he was on a different show. And then we go, boom, right into the Bruce Buffer spot. Nice. Okay, getting back to the giveaway, because that's more important.
Yeah, we're going to give away, or Alden's going to give away the signed Bisping walkout.
Yeah.
And like I said, I have a great question, but the problem's going to be, and I want to be fair to the people that listen to the download, because, Grossman and a lot of those guys are like, hey, I don't listen live. I can't. I'm at work.
Sure.
I go and I listen to it tomorrow or whatever.
And listen, we want them to spread the word, too. So let's, let it grow a little bit.
So how do we give this away?
You probably should have prepared before.
No, I am prepared. I know the question.
Yeah.
I just don't know because we had that incident that one
mechanism.
time.
The mechanism. How to deliver.
We can't necessarily say, all right, tweet the answer to this, because then, like I said, people that didn't hear the interview or don't go to the download, well, now they'll know the answer and they'll tweet it too, and they're not doing their homework.
Well, dare I say,
I'm scared.
Contact us through the website.
I'm scared about that.
I know
we had an issue.
We
once.
have had issues in the past.
Well, hopefully you learned from said issues,
right,
and have gotten better.
Well,
I would just hope
we can give it a shot.
All right, why don't we do this? Who wants to give up their email address? I'm going to take myself out of this.
Not it.
Yeah, you got the email at Knockout Radio. What do you get it at? Melvin Guillard Fan Club at Knockout Radio. Melvin's back rub.
Melvin's sushi spot.
Tito's calf rub. What do you got?
All right, go to
Johnny Octagon.
That's what we got to do. Octagon Johnny, Octagon Johnny, and
have people email you.
All right. Go to knockoutradio.com through the contact. And if you want, how about we do this? After you send it, then tweet, did you receive it?
Confirm. Trust but verify.
Right. Because of the issue that we had, I want to make sure that we don't have that problem. Go to the website, send in and I'll give you the question here in a minute, and then tweet at Knockout Radio, hey, I'm blah, blah, blah. Did you receive?
There you go.
So.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Here's the question. Alden said a couple of the class acts, the good guys, and he named 3 or 4 of them. If you heard it, great. If not, go back to the download. Email me 2 of them.
Okay.
And that'll register you.
There you go. You'll be registered, and then we'll pick one.
Yeah, and then we'll pick it next
do the
Wednesday.
Random pick. Okay.
And we'll do it here. We'll put them all on the table. And again, I suggest that you tweet to Knockout Radio, hey, whoever, did you get it?
Right, just to confirm it.
Just to confirm.
Listen, it's a big giveaway. I understand. So, yeah, no, cool of him to donate that, so to speak, so we can give it away. I could talk to that guy forever.
He's a good guy.
You know, I mean,
hard to get a hold of.
Well, shit, he's a busy guy.
But a very good guy, and I know that a lot of people tried to get him on, to talk about it. And I knew that there was some, Czech Congo stuff because that was when it was reported that he got released, which he didn't. His contract ran out.
Right.
And, all that stuff kind of went down.
I would just like to talk to, you could tell he has a ton of business knowledge.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And for people getting into the game, that's why I asked that question was, that guy's been there. He's gone through it. He's done it. And, I just think he would be a great role. You give a guy like Matt Hughes a position with UFC and he's supposed to be doing fighter conduct or whatever. You have a guy like Alden overseeing the sponsorship and management of these guys, making sure things are getting done the right way, professionally. Because, he sounds like a guy, as long as it's done right and as long as it's done professional, he's on board with it. Even if it isn't his company, he just wants to see things done the right way. And that way, the whole 3-ring circus can work together. And he's just not, seeing that.
With all that said, though, and I kind of brought it up, and I'd be curious how much he really will be able to walk away from it.
Right.
He still owns it. His brother's now the CEO. He loves the sport. He loves the fighters. It'll be interesting to see. So we will have Alden on from time to time, but without further ado, big fight right around the corner for your former UFC heavyweight champ, training down there in South Florida, Tim Sylvia. Tim, how are you?
Good, Randy. How are you?
All right. It's been a while. Training down there, ATT?
Yes, sir.
Talk us through why that decision. Why'd you come down to our Sunshine State?
Well, the weather is beautiful. Been friends with a lot of the guys from ATT for a long time, and my manager, Bonnie, made a partnership with Dan Lambert, the main guy at ATT, and they said there's some big guys being trained with me. I should come on down. So this is my second training camp here.
And I knew that was going to happen. I didn't know when it was going into effect. What exactly does that entail, the partnership?
I don't really know, to be honest with you. I think not all of Bonnie's guys that he currently manages has a place to train. Pretty much, is after the downfall of the IFL, the military fell apart. So we were all kind of in limbo. A lot of us went elsewhere. So guys like myself and Robbie has been coming down here, Junior Hernandez, Jake Hughes from Utah, he's been coming down and stuff. We pretty much have a place to call our home, and any other future Bonnie's guys that want to come down and stuff, they can train there. And Bonnie's going to try to have all the new guys that want to train there as well.
Now, I know there's basements in Iowa. Are you in a basement in South Florida as well?
I'm actually in the Escalade headed to the gym right now.
You hear the gym music. We were talking before, Tim, about your upcoming fight. Your opponent, 6-1. Obviously relatively new to the game compared to you. How have you adjusted? Just in your career and kind of coming back here, knowing that a guy like who you're fighting, who's 6-1, is looking at this fight saying, "I want to have Tim Sylvia's name on my resume."
Oh, he's going to have it. It's just going to be I was knocked out by Tim Sylvia. He can have it all he wants. I just don't know if he wants those words after, if that's what's going to happen. I'm in a great place right now. I got, Steve Mocco and Sean Jordan, two of the greatest wrestlers right now. Steve Mocco is probably the best wrestler in the heavyweight division, and I'm training with him. So I'm definitely preparing myself for this guy.
Not that you're looking past Tony Johnson. I would never expect that. But have you thought what's next? What are your ultimate goals?
I'm 37, so my kind of ultimate goal was to be done where I'm around 40, 41 at the very latest. I had a son a couple years ago, and I just want to be around for him. So when he's getting ready to start school, I really want to be involved with him and focus on seeing what he wants to do and how he turns into a man and enjoy it.
Have you ever, Tim, over the last couple years, have you ever kind of sat back and gone over your career and how far you have come since that day that we met or we were hanging out up there at, what's the casino called up there in Connecticut?
The Mohegan Sun.
The Mohegan Sun.
No, not really. I mean, I think it's, when it's all said and done and I retire, those are the things I want to think about and maybe even have somebody write a book for me and stuff like that. But, right now I still enjoy the sport. I'm still able to compete at the high level, and I'm just enjoying life, living a dream,
Any truth to the rumor Sylvia Andre Arlovsky 19 is coming up soon?
I don't think so. We both talked after the fourth fight. It's like, you know what? I'm over it. 4 times is enough. Even, whatever. I don't care.
Is there anything left for you to do in this sport?
No one's beat my record yet. Randy and I have tied it. I don't know what's going to happen, in the future of the UFC heavyweight division. Ideally, I would like to finish out my career where I started, and that's the UFC. There's great fights out there for me, and I'd like to put on a show for the fans on the biggest stage there is. That's obviously the UFC.
Well, and I'm pretty sure, and I don't think I'm going to go out on a far limb here, Tim, that I don't see Randy Couture ever going back and fighting in the octagon.
Correct. So it's just him and I right now. I don't know if he's going to be able to do what him and I did. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, he's got the ability to do it, but there's a few guys, beneath him that are really up for a challenge trying to win that belt back.
Well, and it really, I was just saying nothing about his ability. I just don't think with the decisions that he's made over the past 6 months to a year and the fallout with Dana and now with him being involved in Bellator and all that, I don't think Dana ever bringing him back.
No, Randy will never be back in the UFC, but, there's a chance I probably won't either. So, what do you know? I mean, it almost happened, so we're kind of keeping our fingers crossed, hoping that, there's still an opportunity for me to go back.
Tim, perfect world scenario. The UFC comes to you and says, all right, you've talked about enough. We've heard you. We've heard the fans. Who do you want? Who's your fight in the UFC right now with the current heavyweight division? Maybe who do you want and who's your backup opponent? Who are the 2 guys in the UFC right now that you feel like that's who I'd want?
Frank Mir, first and foremost. I'm pretty sure Randy knew that. And a couple, for a second, I really don't care. I'd obviously like to fight a striker so that we could put on a good show. I have a good friend, Pat Barry, who's in the UFC. I think if him and I fought, it would be fight of the night or knock of the night. Someone's going to sleep, and it's going to be fight of the night. We might be able to score both of them. One gets knock of the night and fight of the night. It's just on a great show. We've had some good sparring sessions and stuff, and it'd be a good fight for the fans.
What I just found interesting about that, Tim, and guys in the studio, we always talk about teammates and do they fight and do they not fight and training partners. Tim goes, I have a really good friend in the UFC, Pat Barry. We can fight.
That I not only would want to fight, but someone's going to sleep. Yeah, it's not like we go out there and paw around for 3 rounds. Someone's going to sleep. Someone's getting knocked out of the night. I like that.
That's beautiful.
Remind me not to be friends with Tim Sylvia.
I know he brings it, and so do I. So something bad's going to happen to one of us.
Tim, promise me, though, when the book is written that we do or you do put in there about our eating at Dodger Stadium when we went to that game that night.
Oh, I'll definitely put in our eating, and I'm going to put in all facts. I'm not going to put in the facts that I only remember that make me look good. I'll even put in the facts that make me look bad as well. Unlike one of our friends we won't bring up any names that here.
No, I was just saying about when we were eating at Dodger Stadium. That's the only thing that I was throwing out. What about your hunting and all that kind of stuff? Is that kind of put on the back burners for a while?
No, not really. I mean, I did a lot of hunting this fall. I killed, 3 deer. You'll probably see a couple of them on the Outdoor channel, probably Drury Outdoors or Mossio Productions. So I'm still filming my hunts, and they're on the hunting channels and stuff. Obviously, I can't do as much as I'd like. Right now it's turkey season, and I'm not able to go any turkey hunting because I'm in Florida here training my fight.
Now, you mentioned all those guys, and I know Derek brought up who would you fight in the UFC. If it was a smaller organization, would Wes Sims' name been said?
That's just an easy fight. That's not fair. I fought Wes once, actually not too long ago, probably a couple years ago. Wes actually called me up and basically just apologized. Said, "Hey, I'm sorry. I just do it to get fights and try to feed my family and stuff." So I'm like, yeah, whatever. Each his own. So now that I'm getting older, I don't hold grudges as much.
Let it all go.
There's still something about Frank Mir that I want to fight.
Ironically enough,
it's something.
Yeah.
I wonder what that something is about Frank Mir that you'd want to fight him.
It's just unfinished business, man. He broke my arm, and I wanted to keep fighting, and he wouldn't let me. So, I'm irritated.
Irritated.
It was probably the most unprofessional I've ever been because I'm in the front row. The fight stopped in whatever it was, 45, 52 seconds.
Which is saying something for you.
And what, that it was the most
unprofessional? Yeah.
And I'm like, why are you stopping the fight? Tim still wants to fight. Let's fight. And they're like, I don't think you can in the situation that, that he's in. So, what is it, 1FC? Tell us whatever you know about that organization over in Asia. And Lauren, Lauren Mack is the PR guy, right?
I know, yeah. It was crazy. When I was over there last time, I saw Lauren. I'm like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I'm doing the media stuff and so on and so forth. I'm like, it's cool to see a familiar face. Matt Hume's over there. He's the matchmaker and stuff. But, good guys. They put on a great show. They really take care of the fighters. Very professional. So I'm looking forward to fighting for them again.
When are we going to get you in the Tampa Bay area? You're only 3.5 hours away.
I thought it was 5.5.
Not really, depending on how you drive.
I'm in Coral Springs.
Do what?
That's what I'm at. I'm actually staying in Coral Springs. So I don't know how far that is from Tampa Bay, but basically my only day off is Sundays. I have to work out 2 hours on Saturday, so it's really hard for me to get into a car on Sunday and drive 3.5 hours and then hang out, have lunch, shoot the crap with you a little bit, and then head back another 3.5 hours.
All right, well, we'll figure out a plan. We'll figure out a way to get it done. I appreciate your time. I appreciate everything that you've done, and I'm looking forward to the book because I have a feeling my name will be in there once or twice.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Definitely. I was actually thinking about that the other day, Randy. You and I were, after I won the belt, after I won that belt that night, you and I headed to the stadium, and we hear this rattling, clanging noise. And it's like one of those noises that really bugs the crap out of you while you're driving. But we realized it was a coffee mug you had on the floor, the back seat, rattling against the UFC heavyweight title belt. And we're like, you know what? Let's get a good sound. We're going to leave it alone.
That was a good time. That was a good trip. And there's so many other funny stories, and we'll have to touch base on it. The Barry Bonds and Ryan Bennett picture in the back. And it was a good time. It certainly was a lot of fun.
Definitely.
All right, Tim. Thanks a lot. I appreciate your time. I know you got to get to some training. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Later.
Take care. Tim Sylvia. And, I could tell you some really funny stories. But I'm going to tell you the food one.
The one food one. I have a feeling if Tim Sylvia starts writing a book, that centers around eating, he's going to have a couple volumes.
Well, and Randy's going to be involved in the vast majority of them.
Sure.
So we're at Dodger Stadium, and Tim is sitting on the end. We're in Brad Penny's seats. Tim is on the end. I'm sitting next to him, and then the late, great departed Ryan Bennett next to me. Next to Ryan Bennett, and I don't remember her name, was the sportscaster that I think came from Boston and ended up hooking up with one of the pitchers. I think and that's why Ryan wanted to sit there. So the guy comes up and he asks us about food. Are you guys hungry? So Tim goes, do you have a menu? Is there, whatever? And so he hands him a menu and we start looking at the price and the guy goes, oh no, it's all part of your tickets. So we order 18 hot dogs, 47.
Kept it classy. You acted like you've been there before.
All right, so we didn't quite get that much, but yeah, exactly. But we definitely pigged out. So, we're eating and nachos and all this kind of stuff when these two kids come and sit in front of us. And they're probably in their mid-20s. And they just turn and they look at us and they start laughing. And then they turn back, away. And then they turn back to us and look at Tim and start laughing. Now, they know who Tim is because he just got through throwing out the first pitch.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go, this is obviously your first time here.
Rookies.
Yeah. And we're like, all right, smartass, what are you talking about? And
he has half a cheeseburger hanging out of his face. And he's two fisting others.
Well, we definitely were doing that. But they turn and go, this is obviously your first time because the good food's in the back. So we're eating hot dogs and hamburgers, and they come out with a tray.
The gourmet stuff.
Yeah, the gourmet stuff of the prime rib. And Tim just brought up about the Matt Hughes. There's a little clip-it or two in Matt Hughes' book. And I remember vividly that when the book came out, Tim was signing autographs at Mandalay Bay when he found out about what was said and on and on and on. So I'm sure some of that stuff, will be in the book.
I do like the fact, and there was a lot better interview than I thought it was going to be with him. They just going in, my expectations were way low, but who would you like to fight is still Frank Muir. That to me that's phenomenal. All these years later, hey, he broke my arm. I still unfinished business. And I have a real good friend, Pat Barry, who I'd love to fight, and someone would go to sleep. All right. Remind me, don't become friends with Tim Sylvia. He'll look to knock you out and think it's a great time, as long as you're getting paid for it.
Running the risk of trying to keep us at least a little bit on track. We haven't talked too much about the next event, which is UFC on FX8.
Yeah, but that's next Saturday.
That's old Chris Camozzi's card.
Right.
Yeah.
We got a week.
Do we want to wait till next week?
What would you like to talk
Well,
about?
there's been a lot of back and forth already between Vitor and Rockhold.
I do like Rockhold's
saying that he wants to have a warm-up fight first, and that's why he likes this fight with Belfort. But then
take some nuts,
especially when you're making your UFC debut
in his backyard
in Brazil.
Yeah, where he can be all loaded up on
TRT.
He can be loaded up on it no matter where the fight is.
It's just
has nothing to do with it.
Right.
It's in Brazil. As long as you get the proper paperwork and you let everybody know, it's good to go.
It's a joke.
Now, but I mean, if you have this fight in Vegas, that paperwork probably doesn't get passed through in the first place because they pretty much said, Kaiser said that since Belfort is a former steroid user, he's been caught for it, he probably wouldn't get a TUE.
Yeah.
In the first place.
The whole thing's a joke. The whole I hope, and I knew Vitor was a problem with it, but to me that last fight against Bisping was like just ridiculous.
Right.
I mean, he never looked better physically, and you don't. That's not how it works.
It just doesn't happen.
All right, we only have a couple minutes left. We have to get Jovan Haye on in about 3.5 minutes, but real quick, we're going to go out to Las Vegas. I mentioned it earlier in the program, the fact that another player, a new management company has been formed. And to get some of the details, one of the partners, isn't that what they're the
business partners?
Business partners,
yeah,
would be my good friend Greg Hendrick. Greg, how are you?
Doing well. How are you, Randy?
Appreciate your time. Talk to us a little bit about the formation of this new. It's Team Denami.
That's correct. Actually, it's Denami Management and Associates, but the Twitter handle is @Team Denami.
How did this whole thing go down? And for people that don't know, a former Zuffa employee, you were a operations director, you kind of ran the shows, and now you're getting into another side of mixed martial arts in the management portion.
Basically, as you already explained, I was on the promotion side, so the easiest move for me was to move to the other side of the fence and still stay in a sport that I love. The other partner who I think is on the line is Ricky. And basically a very short story to that is my staff, when I was the director of operations at UFC, dealt with Ricky for everything, for sponsorships, for any kind of medical questions, licensing, any kind of suspensions, whatever. So basically all I did is I said, Ricky, why don't we do this? You've been doing it anyway. Let's get paid for it.
Now, and it's only been a couple days that it's been quote unquote official, and you guys already representing some people. Is Ricky on the line, Frank? All right, I guess not. So
I was just on the other side there, Randy, trying to dial him up again.
Okay, Greg, tell us some of the guys that you're already representing, 2, 3, 4 days into this.
John Dodson, Julie Ketsky, and Kyle Noak would be the main ones that we have right now. There's other names, Randy, but obviously, as you know, in the industry, as long as you've been in it, I can't divulge those at this point, but we'll be able to very soon.
Advantages, obviously, I would imagine plenty coming from where you came from at Zuffa, knowing the people that you know, knowing the commissions, knowing the advertisers, the sponsors and such. It's got to be a huge plus.
Yeah, it makes it a very easy transition because basically I stayed within the framework of the sport. Again, like I said, I just switched sides of it. The commission part is something that I was given a tremendous opportunity through Mark Ratner, and I'm sure all your listeners are familiar with him. And his expertise with the commissions and him being the formal director here at Nevada Commission before Keith Kaiser. So he gave me that great opportunity, and then the other opportunities just fell into line with all my years that I was with UFC.
All right, a question that kind of came up in talking around the table here as we were getting ready for it. Your partner, your business partner, Ricky, started the Jackson's MMA series. A lot of fighters have come out of there involved with Jackson's MMA. Is that going to be a problem if a fighter in the gym there doesn't use you guys?
Absolutely not. There will still be fighters who are represented by other managers. They are now. John Fosco, Malky, Robert Rivetta. Sometimes Constantino brings some of his guys down. There's still going to be plenty of those. We're just giving them another option. We're taking up a little bit of the slack that's been left on a few of these fighters, and we're basically going to make it transparent. The other gentlemen that are working with us, John and Emmett, are going to help us basically bring it to the 21st century. We're going to have on their iPhones or their whatever smartphone they're using, they'll have what appearances they're going to have. They'll know what they're going to get paid from sponsorships, what kind of obligations they're going to have. That's all stuff that I'd seen. It was a little bit of a gap in the management systems from the other side.
Awesome. Well, it's something that I want to talk to you, in more detail, and hopefully we can do that either next week or after, I get out there to Vegas in a couple of weeks when I show you how to work Twitter.
I know how to get on it, just don't have to do anything with it.
Well, we'll work out the details. Almost out of time, Greg. Thank you for your time, and I'm going to get you on so we can talk about this in more detail.
Not a problem. We should have more info at that time. Thanks for putting us on today.
Sounds good. That is Greg Hendrick. We were not able to get a hold of Ricky, but on the line as well, Jovan Haye, to talk a little bit about the Yapped app. Jovan.
Yes, Randy. How you doing?
Sorry about that. Always running late towards the end of the program, but I wanted to get you on to talk a little bit about Yapped because I know that we're only a couple weeks away from the unveiling of that app.
Oh yes, we're I want to say maybe 4 weeks out, and it's a social media app that will allow you to follow your friends, family members, your fans, favorite celebrities, have direct input of what they do, what they wear. What they drive, it's anything you can name. You can have direct input and be able to vote on, the outcome. So it's a very intriguing app. My brother and I and my wife, we came up with the app, and we expect big things from the app.
And, of course, we talked about this last week. We're going to do things like what fighter would you like us to interview next week? We're going to put the poll on the Yapped app. And, let people vote on that. We only got about another 30 seconds, so I also want to talk real quick about on Facebook, I Support Small Biz, the Post It, Share It, Sell It site. Talk to us real quickly about that.
Yes, it's a classified website. They have a personal and a business, B2B e-trader and social etrader.com. Post Share Sell is the engine behind both. It's a new way to classify, a new way to buy, sell, trade your personal items and business items. We like to say it's it's an online shopping mall. So it's something new. We've been around for a while now, but we just released the concept, the market spaces over the last 2 weeks. So, March the 20th. No, actually not March. May the 20th is when we pick up full steam, head-on steam marketing. So it will be available. People will find out about it in the next couple of months. But that's what I got going on now. But stay tuned for more. And I appreciate you, Randy, for allowing me this opportunity. And love the show.
Sounds good, Jovan. We will talk real soon. I appreciate your time. I appreciate talking about the Yapped app as well as I Support Small Biz. Once again, guys, here in the studio, in order to qualify for the prize that Alden is giving us to give away, as well as I'll also do the signed poster the same way because we didn't get to that, the World Series of Fighting poster. Go to the website, knockoutradio.com. All you need to do is tell us 2 of the Class Act fighters that Alden said. When you send it, then also tweet to me, hey, did you get it? This is who I am. And let me respond. That way you know that I got it. There is no issues. There is no problems. And we can take care of that. Pretty good show, guys.
Not bad.
Not too bad.
Amateur hour.
Yeah,
Little touch and go.
Yeah, a little unprofessionalism here and there. But, that's what, you expect through us.
Yeah.
So want to thank everybody for tuning in. Want to thank our big list. I'm going to stay on Alden. We're going to get Sean White on. We're going to get some of these guys on. You can count on it. Hit us up at Knockout Radio.
At KO Eggs.
Sean, KO Radio.
At DCUCULICH.
See everybody next week.